Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me today as always. Today's topic is going to be Stoicism or being stoic. This is like unemotional, but no, that's what people think it is. Being stoic is not being unemotional or stuffing your emotions down. Smash that like button and subscribe. They say if I don't tell you to do it, you won't do it. So hit the like button, subscribe. All right, Stoicism. Stoicism is not suppressing or stuffing down your feelings. It's learning how to manage or deal with your feelings, how to accept your feelings. You have an emotional nature, excuse me, but you don't want to allow that emotional nature as a man to control you. Women, on the other hand, are emotional as well, but more emotional. They are more controlled by their emotions. They have more tumultuous emotional storms within them that they are not really able to handle in general. Now, of course, this doesn't include all women, but the biggest majority of them. That's why a woman needs you to be her rock, her mountain, for when she goes through these times. Most of you men know that when a woman's the time of the month, they're really hard to deal with sometimes. Maybe taking birth control changes that now, I'm not sure. But I've been out with several women, I've been married, and when they're going through that time, a lot of times they would tell me, don't pay any attention to me, these are my days, it's my time of the month. Because they realize they're not thinking rationally or logically. This is just part of being a woman. Okay, I'm telling you what the women say about it, what they say. This isn't just my opinion. Okay, most women will admit that during that time it's difficult for them. Okay, I'm glad I'm not a woman, but this is what they go through, and they need you as a man to be strong, to be the mountain, to be the rock that they can lean on, depend on, the steady, stable man. Okay. But anyway, I found this article on Stoicism. It's kind of about Marcus Aurelius, who is considered to be one of the greatest Stoics of all time. Let's see what it has to say. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Just be one. Now there's a good one right there. Just be a man. And if you don't know what it is to be a man, then start reading about people who are supposedly real men, who you believe is a man like you want to be like. Not that you want to imitate them exactly, but you can use them as a model. I use many men as models. I have had mentors. I have a mentor now. They help me. I don't try to copy myself exactly as that person, but I take their suggestions, I try them, and I mold them into my personality and my character. And I create a new individual, a new personality by using what they do and what they suggest to me. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. So you find someone who's done or has done similar to what you want to do, find out how they did it, and use the tools they have gained along the way to create your ability to achieve what you want to achieve. Okay. Meditations 10:16. Over the past few decades, there's been a resurgence of interest in Stoicism. People often confuse Stoicism, lowercase, a coping style that involves suppressing or concealing emotions, also called having a stiff upper lip, with Stoicism capitalized, the ancient Greco-Roman school of philosophy. Some crudely equate manliness with being tough and unemotional, lowercase Stoicism. I think there's a more nuanced way to understand how Stoic philosophy might inform a modern man's conception of his role in society. The most famous ancient Stoic is Marcus Aurelius, who was emperor of Rome during the height of its power. I wrote about his use of Stoicism in my book, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor. The Stoic Philosophy of Marcus Aurelius. I think I read that book. I think I have it. I'll have to check and see. Marcus was the closest thing the world has ever witnessed to the Plato's ancient ideal of philosopher king. Indeed, we're told that he frequently quoted Plato, having a difficult time speaking this morning, that those states prospered where the philosophers were kings or the kings philosophers. He did have enemies, though in 175 AD, toward the end of his reign, Marcus faced a civil war when the governor general of the eastern provinces, Avidius Cassius, had himself acclaimed as a rival emperor by the Egyptian legion. Cassius, I'm not sure if that's correct, was a cruel general, known to torture his prisoners of war and deserters alike. He criticized Marcus for being a weak and unmanly ruler, calling him a philosophical old woman. After only 3 months, however, Marcus won the civil war when Cassius' own officers ambushed and beheaded him. No statues of Cassius survive today, and his name is all but forgotten. I'd never heard of him either. It would seem that Cassius' brutal brand of masculinity was not, in fact, a more efficient leadership style than Marcus' philosopher-king approach. Marcus actually tackles the question of masculinity head-on in his personal notes on Stoic philosophy as a way of life known today as Meditations. Here's what we can learn from the ancient text: manliness and fatherhood. My impression is that Marcus inherited certain old-fashioned Roman values from his immediate family, particularly his mother, Domitia Lucilia. Despite being an immensely wealthy and highly educated Roman noblewoman, she preferred a simple way of life, far removed from that of the rich. Meditations 1:3. She seems to have been good friends with Junius Rusticus, I'm sure I'm chopping these names up, who became Marcus' main Stoic tutor. I sometimes wonder whether it could have been Marcus' mother who first introduced him to the study of Stoic philosophy, which came to shape his concept of what it means to be a man. Tragically, his father died when Marcus was a child, perhaps as young as 3 years old. We don't know the circumstances. Marcus only knew him through early childhood memories and what he learned from family and friends about his father's reputation, which he sums up in just 2 words: modesty and manliness. Meditations 1:2. Other Roman nobles would have regarded modesty as evidence of weakness. Marcus, on the contrary, saw the modesty for which his father was known as a sign of his manliness and strength of character. For Marcus, the ability to show kindness and compassion toward others, rather than wallowing in anger, was one of the most important signs of true inner strength and manhood. It is so easy to be angry and blame and criticize other people, and I've done it all, so I know. And it's much harder to look at people with love and compassion and realize they are doing the best they could. Now, if you don't believe that, look back on your own life. Look back at something maybe that you regret, or you put the sentence like this: I should have done this, or I should have known better. Okay? Now you would not do that same thing that you did in the past that you regret, or you say, I should not have done. Today you have more knowledge, more wisdom. You know better today. You didn't then. Were the same opportunity given to you to repeat the same situation, you would not do it. So you did the best you could do then. So think about that when someone offends you, when someone cuts you off on the road, when someone shortchanges you, or when someone lies to you or lies to someone that you love and they're hurt. That person is doing the best they can with the tools they have, just as you were doing the best you could do with the tools you had and the knowledge and wisdom you had at the time. Now, if you are still beating yourself up for past mistakes, you need to stop. You need to forgive yourself and realize that you were doing the best you could at the time. We look back in the past with the wisdom and knowledge and understanding we have today, and we judge ourselves for something that we did not have the ability to do differently. We did not have the wisdom to know to do it differently. If you would not do the same thing again today, then you didn't know better then, but you do now. So you need to forgive yourself because you actually didn't do anything purposely. You may look back at it and think, well, I knew that I shouldn't have stolen, for example. Well, you may have logically known it with knowledge. You may have knowledgeably known that was wrong. But until you combine experience with knowledge, you didn't have the wisdom to not do that. But maybe later down the road, someone stole from you, and you felt the pain and the hurt, and you thought, well, I bet that's how Joe or Susie or Bill felt when I stole from them. So then you have the experience of what it's like to be stolen from. So you decide not to steal anymore. Now, before, when you stole from someone else, you didn't realize that that hurt them. You may have thought something like, well, they have a lot of stuff, or they have a lot of money, or they don't even use that. So if I take it, it won't matter to them. We justify and rationalize in our minds to make it okay. We have an inner knowing, a moral compass that tells us it's not okay, but we don't have the wisdom to use that intuitive nudging to not make the mistake, or to sin, if you like. There's a word that's been grossly misused, to beat people down into submission and to dominate them. Sin just means missing the mark. It comes from an old Anglo or Greek word in archery, which means to miss the mark. A mistake, that's all it is, to miss the bullseye. Well, yes, we are all sinners. We're all going to make mistakes. Simply, that's all it means. We are going to make mistakes until we gain the wisdom and the knowledge and the skills to not make those same mistakes. So forgive yourself from your past mistakes. In the Lord's Prayer, in the Christian religion, it says, forgive us as we forgive those who have sinned against us. Okay, the same. We have to forgive others if we want to be forgiven. We have to be forgiven. We have to forgive ourselves, okay? And people don't do that. If you can't forgive yourself, I know where I was going. Okay, it also says, Jesus also taught, love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you love yourself, you will forgive yourself. But first you must love yourself. People forget that great teaching. I'm not a religious man. I don't proclaim any type of religion, okay? But there are many great nuggets of wisdom in the Bible, in the Quran, in many of the teachings of the other great mystics and philosophers throughout the centuries. So I make use of them all, okay? But the point is, forgive others because they did the best they could. Forgive yourself. If you have trouble forgiving others, it's because you have not forgiven yourself. First, you must be before you can do. Many people look for love. I'm getting off Stoic philosophy here. Many people look for love, and maybe you're looking for love, but do you love yourself? Obviously, you can't draw to yourself or give away what you don't have. You will find love in the direct proportion that you find the love within yourself, that you love, or that the love that you have for yourself. How can you expect anyone to love you if you don't love what you see when you look in the mirror? Let's go on here. I'm off on a rabbit trail. I do that sometimes. Okay. Although he lost his father before he even had a chance to know him, Marcus was fortunate to be adopted as a teen by a Roman noble destined to become the emperor known as Antonius Pius. Marcus made Antonius Pius his role model in life, a mentor, a role model. We need a role model or a mentor. And decades after his adoptive father's death, Marcus would still describe himself as a disciple of Antonius. I'm not pronouncing it right. Meditations list in great detail the qualities Marcus most admired in his adoptive father and sought to emulate. The first thing he mentions is that Antonius was gentle. He was never harsh or implacable or overbearing. I could do some work there. I need some of that. And never worked himself up into a lather over anything. For Marcus, the ability to show kindness and compassion toward others rather than wallowing in anger was one of the most important signs of a true inner strength of manhood. It's easy to be angry and resentful, but guess what? As an old mentor told me years ago, resentment eats up the container it's stored in. So do you want to be eaten up by resentment? I don't think so. Okay, that's it for today. We got to stop. I hope this has been of value to you. If you'd like to get my help personally, you can contact me at marksinspirationalguidance@gmail.com. Have a great day.